In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the recommendation functionality that is available to every individual LinkedIn user. Recommendations are a really important way of telling LinkedIn that you are an active, engaged LinkedIn user. So you can either give another LinkedIn user that you are connected with a recommendation, or you can receive a recommendation from another LinkedIn user that you are connected with. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go through this process. One is when you're on your profile page, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there is going to be a section that's actually called recommendations. If you have not given any recommendations yet or received any recommendations, you may not see this section visible down at the bottom of your page. If you don't see this section, then on the right hand side there's a blue add profile section button. You can click on this and scroll down to where it says additional information, and this is where you can then request a recommendation. And then once you have processed the first recommendation, this section will then turn on and become visible on your LinkedIn profile page. So if you are wanting to receive a recommendation from another LinkedIn user that you are connected with, you can click this Ask for a Recommendation button. That then allows you to search for the individual that you are connected with in LinkedIn, that you are wanting them to give you a recommendation. Once you've selected the person that you are wanting the recommendation from, then you select the relationship. So you have a variety of ways to identify what the relationship is. You can say that you worked together, they were a client of yours, you were a client of theirs. So you could identify how you worked together. And then you identify the position. This is pulling from your experience section in your LinkedIn profile. Once you select this position that you held at the time that you had the relationship with this particular person that you're asking them to give the recommendation, then you select next. And LinkedIn puts in a default template. It says, hi, whoever the person is, could you write me a recommendation? That's the default. You can leave that and hit send, or you can also add your own words to it as well. And so maybe if you had a very specific piece of the project or transaction or any service that you provide that you really wanted them to possibly make sure that they identified and called out when they write the recommendation, you might want to reference that here as well. If not, then you could just simply leave the default template of hi, Steve, could you write me a recommendation? Then when you hit send, what will happen is this person will then receive in their private message, it will be a message from you to them that will have whatever that verbiage is that you wrote in the box. And they will then be able to click on a link, which will then prompt them to write whatever recommendation it is to you. When they've finished writing their recommendation, they'll hit send. That'll go back to you as a private message. And the nice thing about recommendations in LinkedIn is that it gives you the opportunity to actually review it and send it back for a recommendation. You can also just decline it and not accept it. So unlike all the other social media platforms, where if in Facebook you get a review, it could be a 5-star or a 1-star and you're stuck with it. Unlike that, you have the opportunity to actually proof it and decide whether you want to accept it or not. So if you get to the point where you do approve it and you want to accept it, then you will click the accept button, and then it will show up under your received recommendations here. So that's how you would ask and receive a recommendation for someone else. If you wish to give someone a recommendation, that process would be to go to that person's LinkedIn page, and right underneath their header picture to the right of their message button is a more button. And when you click on that, then you will have the recommend. Then that you'll go through the same process, select the relationship, and write whatever it is that you want to say about your relationship with that particular LinkedIn contact. The other way that you can also request a recommendation from someone is by being on their page, clicking the same more drop down and do the request a recommendation, which then takes you through that same process again. So whether you're requesting a recommendation or receiving a recommendation, it's basically the exact same process. So what I recommend is just sort of think about who in your professional sphere have you recently worked with that you might have completed a project with. Make sure that you are, step one, connected with them on LinkedIn, and then reach out to them on LinkedIn and ask them for a recommendation. And then the nice thing too is if you write them a recommendation, usually they reciprocate and turn around and will want to write you a recommendation right back. So hopefully this has been value. Make sure that you click the subscribe button below and continue to receive more social media how-to tips and tricks videos from Behind Your Curtain.